Once upon a time, in the vast and fertile lands of the Oyo Kingdom, there lived a young woman named Aminat. At 28, Aminat was a beauty to behold. Her skin glowed like the morning sun, and her graceful demeanor made her the pride of the village. She had a heart full of kindness, wisdom beyond her years, and eyes that could pierce the hardest of hearts. Naturally, men from near and far sought after her hand in marriage. Chiefs, warriors, princes, each one more powerful than the next, came bearing gifts, hoping to win the favor of this jewel of Oyo. But Aminat, though kind and respectful, had no interest in the suitors who gathered like bees around a flower, for her heart was already taken by another, a warrior, brave and noble, named Durojaiye. They had grown up together, played in the fields as children, and through the years, their bond blossomed into a love that no riches or power could replace. Durojaiye was tall, strong, and fierce in combat. He had proven himself in numerous battles, earning the respect of the elders and the admiration of the younger warriors. But beneath his hardened exterior, his heart was soft for Aminat. They had grown up together, their love blossoming like a flower in spring. Despite the wealth and prestige of the men who sought her, Aminat only had eyes for Durojaiye. Her parents were at first skeptical, wanting their daughter to marry someone of greater status, but they soon realized that no wealth could compare to the love that Aminat had for Durojaiye. And so, with the blessings of the village elders and her family, Aminat and Durojaiye were wed. The day of their wedding was a grand event. The entire village was filled with music, dancing, and laughter. People from neighboring towns came to celebrate the union. Aminat, dressed in a richly embroidered iro and buba, was the epitome of grace and beauty, while Durojaiye, in his warrior's attire, stood tall beside her. The village drummers played until their hands were sore, and the celebration continued long into the night. For Aminat, this was the beginning of her happily ever after. She felt as though nothing could break the bond they shared. But happiness is often fleeting, and peace is never guaranteed. Just months after their wedding, word came that a neighboring kingdom had declared war. The king summoned his bravest warriors, and Durojaiye was chosen to lead them into battle. The villagers wept as their sons, brothers, and husbands left for war, but Aminat's heart was especially heavy. Durojaiye kissed her forehead before he left, whispering, "I will return to you, my love. No matter how long the battle lasts, I will come back to you." Aminat watched as he and the other warriors disappeared into the horizon, her heart filled with both pride and fear. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months. Aminat waited every day by the village gate, hoping to see Durojaiye returning. Each day, she was met with disappointment. Other warriors returned home one by one, embraced by their loved ones, but Durojaiye was nowhere to be seen. As time passed, whispers began to circulate. The suitors who had once vied for Aminat's hand in marriage began to mock her. "Perhaps your warrior has found another," they sneered. "You could have been a queen by now, but you chose a man who has abandoned you." Aminat paid no heed to their words, but deep inside, doubt began to creep in. Yet, she remained steadfast. Her love for Durojaiye was unshakable, and she refused to believe he would break his promise. Other men continued to seek her hand, but she turned them all away. Her family grew concerned. "It has been over a year," her mother said one evening. "You are still young, Aminat. Perhaps you should consider moving on." But Aminat shook her head. "I will wait," she said firmly. "I will wait for him." Months turned into years. The war had long ended, and the kingdom had signed a peace treaty with the rival kingdom. Still, Durojaiye did not return. The other warriors had come back, telling stories of their battles and hardships, but none could give Aminat any information about her husband's fate. Some claimed he had died in battle, while others said he had been taken prisoner. Aminat refused to believe any of it. She waited by the gate every evening, her heart filled with hope. The villagers began to mock her more openly, saying she was chasing after a ghost. 5 long years had passed since Durojaiye left for war, and still, there was no word from him. One morning, Aminat woke up with a strange sense of clarity. She could no longer sit idly by, waiting. She had to find out the truth for herself. Packing a small bag, she set off on a journey to the kingdom where the war had been fought. It was a dangerous journey for a woman to make alone, but Aminat was determined. She had to know what had become of the man she loved. The journey was long and arduous. Aminat traveled through forests, crossed rivers, and passed through villages she had never seen before. Along the way, she met people who told her stories of the war. Some spoke of great battles, others of warriors who had never returned. Each story filled Aminat with both hope and dread. What if Durojaiye was alive? What if he had found someone else? Or worse, what if he had perished and she was chasing after memory? After many weeks, Aminat finally reached the kingdom where the war had taken place. It was a grand, bustling city, far different from her quiet village. She wandered the streets, asking about the warriors who had fought in the war. It was then that she heard the most shocking news. As Aminat walked through the marketplace, she spotted a familiar figure. It was Durojaiye. Her heart leapt with joy, but that joy quickly turned to despair when she saw him with another woman, a woman who was heavily pregnant, and beside them played two young children. Aminat's world came crashing down. She couldn't move. She couldn't speak. She could only watch as the man she had loved, the man she had waited for, laughed and embraced his new family. It became clear to Aminat that Durojaiye had not died in battle. He had survived, but he had chosen to build a new life in this foreign land. The woman he was with was clearly his wife, and their children were evidence of the years that had passed since the war. Aminat felt a pain like no other. She had waited, faithfully and loyally, for a man who had moved on. The love she had held onto for so long, the hope that had kept her going, had all been in vain. For a moment, Aminat considered confronting him, demanding an explanation. How could he abandon her after everything they had been through? How could he betray her so cruelly? But then, she realized there was no point. Durojaiye had made his choice. He had built a new life, and she was no longer part of it. With a heavy heart, Aminat turned and walked away. The bustling marketplace continued around her, but all she could hear was the sound of her own shattered dreams. She had journeyed so far, only to find the truth she had feared the most. As she made her way back to her village, she thought of the years she had wasted, the suitors she had turned down, and the love she had held on to. But she also thought of her own strength, her resilience, and the knowledge that she had loved deeply, even if it had not been returned. Aminat returned to her village, no longer the same woman who had left. She was wiser now, hardened by the pain of betrayal, but also stronger. She knew that life would go on, and that she would find happiness again, perhaps not in the way she had once imagined, but in a way that was all her own. The villagers, seeing her return, whispered among themselves, but Aminat paid them no mind. She had faced her greatest fear and survived. And in that, she found peace.